Hello, everybody. Welcome. 21st of February 2024. It's 9 p.m. in Ireland and London, 10 p.m. in France, and it's time for our spiritual light. I want to welcome everyone. As you can see, we have the full house today. Elsa is with us. Solomon is our special guest. So it's wonderful to have everyone here, and I will let everyone to give you the introduction. So let's say let's start with lady first and with our guest. Good evening, Elsa. How are you, my dear?
Hello, Stevan, Solomon, Silvia, Charles, and our dear friends, our dear audience that will be with us tonight. For me, it's a great pleasure to be here once again, now in London, and speak with you all. Oh my God, so happy.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Elsa. Nice to have you here and nice to have you close to us. And good evening, Miss Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Elsa, welcome to London. And so, and Charles, and everyone that will be watching us. We're going to talk about something interesting today with spiritual intelligence. And a lot of people talk about it, but the thing, not many people understand what it means. Intelligence. And a lot of people talk about it, but oh my God, sorry. Sorry, can you go?
Okay. Looks that we have technical problem. Let's bring over our special guest, Mr. Solomon. He's part of the SSL with Elsa. He lives in the UK, and he has a wonderful work on the Spiritism cause. And I like to welcome you, Solomon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice to be here amongst friends, and I look forward to the discussion. So it's also nice to see Elsa back in the UK. So nice to see everybody.
Great. And Miss Gibbons, are you okay? Or
Yes, I am okay now. Sorry, something started talking, and it was off. Very weird.
yeah,
Anyway, just saying it's good to be with all of you and those who join us, and to those who also be watching us at a later date. It will be a very interesting topic. So, join in, give your questions, make comments. It'll be nice. And I hope we're going to have, I know we will have a good meeting. And so that's it. So, bom dia, boa tarde. Todos estão assistindo a gente em outros lugares. Bem-vindos a mais um live. E nós vamos discutir hoje sobre inteligência espiritual, que é um assunto bem interessante de se falar, de se entender. E bem-vindo a todos e que Deus nos abençoe.
amen.
Thank you.
And last but not least, bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Stevan. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Again, very happy to be here about this really very interesting topic about spiritual intelligence, something who came recently, let's say a decade or two ago, and which is growing. And for us, spiritists, it is very lucky to see all these values being more and more valued. And that's the purpose of spiritism is to make humankind better. And so all this type of initiative we are fully supporting.
Great. So let me give you a very short introduction what it is spiritual intelligence. Then we go to our video and we will start our discussion today. So for those who doesn't know what it is spiritual intelligence, spiritual intelligence, it refers to the ability to understand, connect with, and derive meaning from concepts beyond the physical realm, such as purpose, values, interconnectedness, transcendence. It involves a deep awareness of oneself, others, and the universe, often leading to the sense of inner peace, fulfillment, and a greater understanding of one's place in the world. Spirit intelligence encompasses aspects of wisdom, compassion, empathy, and the ability to find meaning and purpose in life beyond material pursuits. It's often associated with religious or physical beliefs, but can also exist independently of any specific doctrine or tradition. Cultivating spiritual intelligence can contribute to personal growth, resilience, and overall well being. Okay? Let's go to our video. Okay, good, good. All these credits goes to copy and paste. They do animated short movies, so all the credits for them. Beautiful animation and fits our topic today. Thank you for this movie, and thank you Elsa for finding this movie for us. Okay, I'm very democratic here, And Charles, give your five sentences about spiritual intelligence, since you are more familiar with this topic.
5 sentences. Let's try. Yeah, as I told, it is something that I discovered not so long ago, and I'm really amazed to see how it is in the air. And we, since a long time, we were talking about IQ with some ways to measure it and some difficulties to interpret and whatsoever. And then the people became aware that IQ is not is good, but is not sufficient. So they came with EQ, emotional intelligence. So someone who has a high IQ but a low EQ will hardly be able to work in a team or to find a compromise with a client or whatsoever. So very intelligent and no emotional intelligence does not help a lot. And then came this new concept of spiritual intelligence. And when I was reading what it was, you told about it in a very condensed way at the beginning, Stevan. It's a little bit difficult. We will have to go a little bit back in order to detail each of the topics you mentioned. Amazing is when the one who know the universal moral laws, which are recalled by the Spiritist body of knowledge, amongst others in the book 3rd of the Spirit's book. And we look also what is the definition of spiritual intelligence. We see that there is maybe not 100% match, but a very, very good match between both. And interestingly, is this came up in non-religious or even non-spiritualist environment. So one may understand, okay, spiritual intelligence is to believe in spirit. No, it's not like this. To believe in spirit and not to become a better person does not help. So spiritual intelligence is really about to put in practice all these values. And interestingly, it is extremely more and more, I would say, evaluated even in the professional ambient, in business, where it has been seen that teams where you have members with high spiritual intelligence, you get much more results. You come much quicker to the objective than a team where there is a different ambient which is prevailing, like, for instance, competition. Everyone willing to be the first and whatsoever. So that was the notion at the beginning, that this would give the best result, but no. Now the data shows that the best result is you get when the team members are have all these values that you told: benevolence, humility, how to say, self-awareness, compassion, fraternity, even we could say, within the team. And that is then enhancing the team momentum so high that the team is reaching outstanding results. And even the people in the trade market are recognizing it. Okay, the results are here, so we let it do. So I really find this amazing. We as spiritists, as I told at the beginning, we do not claim any, that we are the first telling these things, whatever. For us, when good things are coming, we support them wherever they come from. And that's because important is to put in practice. Even the spiritist body of knowledge is just a tool to reach goodness, to reach happiness, to incentivize the people for their own evolution. I think it was more than 5 sentences. I'm really sorry for that.
I'm pretty sure everyone forgive you. Okay, good, my friends. I want to say good evening to Rádio Espírita do Paraná, our dear friend Beatriz Gilles, Elizabeth Stevenson, Aline Garcia, our friend Robbie Brown, my friend, a long time I don't see you, good. And also Robbie wrote to us, choices we make combined with consistent practice establishes our identity. Choose wisely, for changing habits can take years. Well, but I would say just a hobby. Everything starts with a long walk starts with the first step. As long as you are doing the first step, that's what's matter. And when we have this conscious, we change our mindset, and I'm pretty sure shortcuts will show up in our pathway, giving us better choices and better opportunities. Talking about it, I want to know from our friend Solomon. Solomon, he's part of the volunteer group, so he sings. He does a lot of things. He's a non-stop man. And in these activities, all this charity work you do, Solomon, have you seen this spirit intelligence flourishing in the people in their feelings, how to practice it, how to achieve it, and also how to receive it? Because sometimes we are very shy and we do not accept any kindness, and sometimes we need to be not humble, but we need to accept a compliment, to accept kindness people give to us. How is your perception, my friend?
Yeah, it's a good question. I also trained as a therapist originally in 1998 and then renewed it last year. So I already encountered the term spiritual intelligence even back then. So it's not a new term, as Charles said, but it's good that we're showing that we're part of it, because Spiritism is very much doing what's been described in online and elsewhere with spiritual intelligence in books. I think charity is a big part of spiritual intelligence, though it can be obviously in the business setting, as Charles said. There was also a study, which is, I did look it up, which was done with nurses in, I believe it was Iran. And, they really saw it as being very important, having spiritual intelligence. They saw a lot of life satisfaction in the elderly, and they reported the association between spiritual intelligence with purpose in life. So I think that's something to also bear in mind, because some people may feel, I don't have any purpose. I once was volunteering in an old people's home, and this man was very upset because his wife has died. And I was playing cards with him as a volunteer, and he burst into tears and said, I don't know what to do now, because his whole role was caring for his wife, and his wife had died and he was now in the care home. And I pointed out to him that there were plenty of people in the care home, you know, whom he can, you know, cheer up and talk to. But, you know, sometimes we need spiritual intelligence because there's not a lot else. We've lost a role in our life. You know, we may have had a tragedy or something has happened. So for him, that was the perfect time to have spiritual intelligence, you know. So it's useful for everybody to know what spiritual intelligence is and to have that ready, you know, even in a business setting, you know, like these nurses functioned much better when they had spiritual intelligence. That helped them with their purpose in life. In fact, not having a purpose in life as a nurse was a bad thing. The investigators found it made them much more effective as a nurse if they said, I have a purpose, you know, I really believe in what I'm doing, rather than just saying, I don't know why I'm doing nursing, I'm just doing it. You know, they saw a real change in the effectiveness when someone had a sense of purpose in the Iranian studies. So I think we can gain a lot of consolation, you know, like sometimes if a person doesn't have a conventional 9-to-5 job, if they're disabled, or, you know, even if they're a single mother, they may say, oh, I don't have a job. When somebody says, what do you do? Like, I'm nothing, I'm nobody. And yet spiritual intelligence says you always have a purpose, you know, you're always valuable and you can always be valuable to others. So I think it's looking at developing ourselves as a key part of why we're here. So raising our moral abilities, our moral intelligence, through charity, through just being kind in our thoughts, is a very important skill. And even for children, you know, they can learn this too, like we saw in that clip. You know, there's no age at which we don't need it. It's not just for brainy people. It's and it goes beyond emotional intelligence, because it's really, you know, following in the footsteps of Christ in being very charitable and very kind. And that's something that, you know, children can learn a lot from what's around them. So yes, I think it's very inspiring to see what the spiritists are doing in all the groups, and I'm very grateful to be a part of some of that work. And I think it was Louise Hay who said, you know, if you ever get a compliment, don't say no, I'm not, I don't deserve it. That's not true. I'm not beautiful, or I'm not talented, or I'm not this. No. Just say thank you very much and smile. And
Or happy to help.
even better say that's very kind of you for saying so, because learning how to accept a compliment is also giving back a gift, and not invalidating the person who gives you the compliment. So I think that's another lesson on the pathway to spiritual intelligence, which is a lifelong pathway. I think we're always on that path of trying to perfect ourselves spiritually.
Wonderful. Thank you, Saul. And you, Miss Gibbons, what's being intelligent spiritually in your word?
This is a very interesting subject, and I think touching something that Charles said about the spiritual intelligence in Spiritism. And in reality, you know, the term spiritual intelligence was coined by Dr. Dana Zohar in 1997 in a book that she wrote. The name of the book was Spiritual Intelligence, Rewiring the Corporate Brain. And quite a lot of the things we read on spiritual intelligence is to do with business, with how to reframe and how to connect with other people within the organization and everything. And this is very interesting. And that's why it became so popular, because, I think big companies, big corporations took a lot of this thing on board because they wanted to make their companies as productive and as possible. And that's why it filtered to so quickly to people, But I find it very, very interesting that basically most of the things we talk about spiritual intelligence we find in the Spirit's book, because one of the questions, I think question 23, that he says, what is the Spirit? And the Spirit's answered, the intelligence principle of the universe. So this intelligence is inherent in us as a spirit, because, we are the intelligent principle of the universe, which comes from the main source of intelligence in the universe, which is a question number 1 of the Spirit's book, that, God is the supreme intelligence of the universe. So, and when you see, I think Dr. Doha, she had some principles. I think she wrote about 12 principles. And I think Charles mentioned something about it's not religious, but has a lot to do. And it's interesting because everything that we see in this sort of principles of intelligence, it's self-awareness, knowing of yourself so you can know others, empathy, compassion, having one of the things that she says is being vision and value led. So you act in principles and deep beliefs, and you live according to what you believe in. It's one of the principles of spiritual intelligence, and feeling in and having some feeling independent and having humility. And I mean, when you see these things, is exactly, this is taught by Jesus. I know it's not to do with religion, but that was the principles that Jesus taught. And if you read, the Sermon on the Mount, this is exactly what is there. Love your neighbors yourself, and this, I find that very, very interesting, because if you're a non-believer, if you don't believe in God or your main aim of intelligence, and actually there was another person as well, the professor who wrote about this, and he actually, I'll tell you the name, his name was Stephen Covey, and he says spiritual intelligence is the central and most fundamental of all the intelligences, because it becomes the source of guidance for oneself and for others. So not only you can learn to change your life yourself, but you can be a guide to other people, which is really interesting. And, the originator of this multiple intelligence, which was Howard Gardner. And he says existential intelligence rather than spiritual intelligence, because it is a change of life. And I find this very, very important, because if you are a non-believer and your main aim is to have a very good company and you get a lot of money, and of course, if people get on well together, if they can work as a team, if they can see the purpose of what they are doing, they are going to work really well together, and it's going to be a very successful thing. And this is very important to think in terms of that. But on the other hand, if you are a person who has a belief, you believe in God, and you have some principles within your religion that, and I think basically, I mean, I know all the religions have their principles and they are good. And basically, if you take the essence, they are all the same. But this sort of reaffirm as well your beliefs in a being, a superior being, and in God, because he asks you to be aware of other people, to have empathy, to have compassion, to have humility, to be aware of things, how you can change. And whatever you do, you can affect other people, others can see, others can follow. And, all this brings together quite a lot of things, because I remember reading something Carl Jung said, one of his quotes, that he said, humanity will not grow as a whole, but to be individuals within the humanity that will progress and evolve faster, quicker, and the strength of their unconscious will bring others with them. And that's exactly how it happens. And this is exactly what they say here, because you can guide others as well to be more compassionate, to be more understanding by your own behavior. So I find the connection of spiritual existential intelligence very, very much already in the basic books of Spiritism that teach us that God is the supreme intelligence of the universe, and that we as spirits are the intelligent principle of the universe. So it's already within us, this knowledge. And it took, a long time for people to start being aware of it. And I think as we progress, as we evolve as human beings, we will become more and more intelligence spiritually. We will do, people who have high IQ, sometimes they can be, recently we saw the film of, I forgot now his name, the man who made the bomb. They used their intelligence, although, you can see he had some reasons behind that. But intelligence sometimes, if it's just intelligence, clear, away from any concerns, they can have terrible things. They can use the intelligence to create weapons, to create all sorts of things, and to do terrible things. I mean, sometimes people who are extremely intelligent but doesn't have that empathy, that side of intelligence, they can do terrible and cruel things. So this is saying, use your intelligence how we were created to use it, as intelligent person who lives for together with others in harmony, in communion, and because we have an original source, and it's inherent in every single being, whether we use it or not, intelligence, because we are intelligence principle, and we come from a higher source. And I think that's how I see it, and I find it very, very interesting and also quite stimulating to think that within science and within these things are now to confirm what I actually believe and what I study and accept, and have made a part of my life, which is the Spiritist teachings, So sorry, did I talk too long?
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just love this connection between what we read in a scientific way, this research way, in the corporation world, and what we learn within the Spiritist doctrine. That's, the teachings.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. Also, good night to Rede Mundial Emissoras Espíritas, Luviem, and Robbie Brown at a comment here. All the good attributes come to life within each of us when we are able to define our purpose. Very wise comment, Robbie. Thank you. I like the definition from one psychologist and professor, American psychologist. His name is Robert Emmons, and he defines spirit intelligence as the adaptive use of spiritual information to facilitate everyday problem solving and goal attainment. I don't want I I don't want to say that this expresses spiritism, but in my understanding, if I am spiritist and I follow the spiritist principles, and we have non-spiritist, but this person follows the spirit intelligence principles, we are on the same path. We are the same. We achieve the same thing. And my question to all of you is: uh, should we will reach a day in which all these religions, all these faiths, we understand that we want the same thing. The purpose is the same. How we're gonna get it, it is the difference. But our purpose is the same, and we will stop these nonsense wars, nonsense fights, nonsense problems we're seeing every single day. I want to start with you, my dear Elsa.
Yeah, I am processing everything that I'm listening here from Solomon, that good information, and Silvia and Charles. And of course, I'd like to make a connection that I know there is a wonderful connection between spiritual intelligence and action of kindness that we need the most in the world. And especially thinking about educating our little ones, our young people that are sometimes lost themselves inside their own minds. And as a parents, relatives, or teachers, we should put more attention in teaching our children how to use their spiritual intelligence in order to make the world that they are living, their homes, their families, their schools, their social life, a better moment. Instead, what we are seeing nowadays are really, really scary because I was speaking 2 days, 3 days ago with a person that worked with the children in clinics. And there are a lot of uh, kids, young kids, that they try to cut themselves, to harm themselves, to commit suicide. They are under strong medication because there is no way that someone sit with these kids and help them to love themselves, to think about themselves as a wonderful flower that are flourishing in the nature. So what we are doing, we are only looking to our belly. Instead, look around and detach a little bit our kids from the screens, from the mobiles, from the short videos, yeah, that is harming really, according to this educator, this therapist to young kids. And I was thinking when I was writing to Stevan 2 or 3 days ago about the act of kindness, that is something that Silvia pointed very well, and Dana Zohar as well, and Steve Calvin as well, are talking about this space around us and what we are doing for that. We have to start thinking about this good purpose inside our own families. Instead, of putting too much attention to material things, earning money day and night, without thinking as a union in the family, and be kind. The video, starting video, short video, but says a lot for us and changing the words in our mind. Vengeance, be kind, not hate, but love. That is something. And Brown said that it's difficult to change and take years. Who knows? If you will be vigilant and pray, that means using our intelligence to connect to the Almighty Being, Almighty Father, Mother, we can really change ourselves, change the world. Because to change the world means change me, you, all of us, a little bit. It's difficult to change a lot, but we have to do the first steps. Do it. Okay? Back to you, Stevan.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Charles, how is your perception? Because for actually, this question is for you and Saul, because you are the two known Brazilians in this conversation here, and we have been seeing uh, like the spiritism we have in Brazil. It is in certain way different the spiritism we have in Europe. Like you always say, Charlie, it's not a matter of control, copy and paste. We need to understand the local culture, local understanding, and spiritism teachings is wonderful because it adapts to everything. Uh, but in let's say in South America, there are more love, more connection between among the people, not the spiritism, but among the people. Here in Europe is more like respect my 2 meters, respect my boundaries. Don't hug me yet. No, I just know you. In Brazil, I don't know you. I go, I kiss, I hug. It's very warm, a very warm welcome. Do you see this spiritual intelligence kind of make this hard relationship make this more a easygoing relationship than before, since the companies are starting to looking for this, start to looking for more the human side.
Hmm.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Charles? What do you think, Solomon?
you know, I thank you for the question. The first thing you taught about in Brazil, the Spiritism got what we call religiosified. It went well. It had a lot of success with the characteristic of a religion. Does not mean that all the Brazilian Spiritists are like that. There are also some trend like Confederação Espírita Pan-Americana, for instance, which are more secular and not so religious. The thing is, religion is positively perceived in Brazil, in Latin America as a general, maybe also in some like countries in Europe, like Portugal. But here in France, at least, and let's see what Salomon will talk about UK, religion has a negative perception. And what's amazing is when the people start presenting spiritual intelligence, one of the first questions who comes is, but spiritual intelligence is linked to religion, isn't it? And I love when the people say it has absolutely nothing to see with religion. You have religious people with very low SQ, and you have materialist and atheist people with very high SQ. So there is no direct link between both. And I really love that because somehow it's also the way that Kardec presented and qualified Spiritism, not as a religion, but as, how to say, putting in practice values, which we call the moral laws in the book third of the Spiritist book, and which are very in line with all these values that are also arising from the spiritual intelligence. Now you told, will this help to be for the people in Europe to be more open? Maybe, but there is one difference that I noted when I lived in Brazil. In Brazil, particularly in some areas like Rio de Janeiro, for instance, the people, they come and pull and hug you and whatsoever. Here in France, particularly in Eastern France, close to German, a little bit culture, it's exactly what you told. Keep distance. Now, okay, you know the people know you, and then comes the time you have a problem, you have an issue, you need help. Then sometimes the value is inverting. The people who hug you, where are
Disappear.
they?
Gone.
Not here. So the hug is sometimes a little bit superficial, whilst the people who are maybe a little bit more distant, these maybe are here present when you really need them. So it's I would say it's not a criteria of measurement. You have people hugging you like this with a low SQ, and you have people keeping distance with a high SQ. So what's really important is to measure the putting in practice the level of charity. I mean, charity is maybe not the perfect word in English, but put in practice all these values which are characterizing the SQ. And that is the most important. And that's why Kardec wrote, without charity, or maybe without SQ, there is no salvation. Not without spiritism, or not without hugs. It's without all these values,
With actions.
Yes, actions. Yes, charity is love in action.
Yeah. And you, Solon?
Yeah, it's interesting because I did all my training as a therapist in Canada, and I felt it a real breath of fresh air, and later went to Brazil. As many times as I went to Canada, so four times for each country, and I really felt like this is a country I feel much happier. Everybody is much more extrovert. The Canadians are kind of halfway between the English and the US and the US Americans, I think. They're extrovert, but not as extrovert as the Americans. But the Brazilians are very, demonstrative and typically extrovert. But I agree with Charles as well. Sometimes it can just be a uniform. Of that's what we do. We give you a hug and a kiss, say hi, but then you don't know which one is my friend, because everybody's friendly, and sometimes you'll discover later, like Charles said, you might have to kind of think a bit, like, are there any other signs I must look for? Because everybody hugs everybody, but when my trainer was in England, I told him, I said, I prefer the Canadians because they're much happier and friendlier. But we were on the tube, on the metro, as others would call it. And there was this lady who was starting to talk to my trainer because I think he said hello or something. And, she started really engaging with him. And later he said, I think you're the same as us, but you just need an excuse, to talk. And I think that's actually the truth of the British, especially on the metro, because there are crazy people, in New York, in London. And so you don't open the door to everybody because you don't know who this person is going to be. Are they a psychopath? Are they crazy? Are they just going to be aggressive with you if you, open up to them and start trying to make a conversation? So there is not the same, broad openness as Brazil or even in Canada, but we're waiting for an excuse to be kind. So as soon as we know there's a need, I mean, I've seen many times where if somebody is in need on the street, people will come to that person. And I myself once, I had given blood, and I literally thought I will not make it home, because stupidly I went back with 2 bags of shopping. I go shopping, give blood, and then go home. It'll be fine. And I was like, but I felt really weak. I refused the sugar afterwards, whether you can have a sugary drink or something like this. I thought, no, I'm fine. I'm a strong guy. I'll be all right. It's only short distance. And literally I was by the roadside. I thought, I'm really gonna fall down. I have to, take a few breaths. And this lady, really within 30 seconds, this black lady came up to me, and was a young lady as well. She wasn't old, and she said, "Are you all right? Can I help you?" And I did need help, but I was still a bit too proud, and said, "No, I'll be all right," and just waited a bit and managed to get home. But it does show you that, we have an innate desire to help one another, and it's kind of like in the species, if you like. But we're often, certainly as British, we're quite proud, and we don't want to invade another person's 2 meters, like Stevan was saying, and we don't necessarily want anybody in our 2 meter radius. So, but if it's someone like Elsa or Stevan or any of you guys, then no problem. But I think I think that there is another thing to talk about, which is this need to suffer alone, like, children cutting themselves. I did this as well when I was a boy. I had a lot of difficulties and self-harmed and tried to kill myself. And, I think, we need to teach children the principles of Spiritism, as early as possible. And Spiritists do in the home, gospel in the home and everything, because it's important as part of, being responsible people, even as children, to ask for help. I'm a trained therapist now, and I can help people. There are plenty of therapists, Silvia, many people around the world, who'll be happy to help someone in need. So we need to help with our kindness, like Elsa was saying. There's a lot of love and kindness, and we need to put the resources where they're needed. And it's just a shame, especially with the pandemic, the aftermath of the pandemic is suicide and self-harm is at an epidemic level. But it shouldn't be. It's an opportunity for spiritual growth, but it can be a hard path to that, from all that isolation. It's almost like a delayed reaction where people are suffering a lot emotionally. But I think we can help as Spiritists by just praying, and also letting everybody know it's okay to suffer. It doesn't mean you're a failure. I mean, children need to know to ask their parents to get help, and we need to make sure that, the authorities are providing that help.
Perfect.
I would like to make a point here, please. I think that there is this great need for children, but I'm an old-fashioned person. I think this has to start at home with the parents. And, I think having maybe sometimes both parents, and I know this is not very fashionable even for me, but having both parents working, because they get a lot of money, they want a better house, and the children are constantly on the phones, because it's easier to give them a phone for them to be quiet instead of talking to the children. So I think, sort of many principles. It's not the school or the therapist that's going to give them. They need to learn from home what's right and wrong. And that's one of the things that sometimes are failing children, and it needs to change. Also about people, often, the other day I was looking for a place, and I asked 3 people, am I going in the right direction? Because I couldn't quite read the way the map was showing me, because there was lots of little streets, and nobody heard me. because they're all with their phones on their ears, and they just passed by. They didn't hear, they didn't even see me. And I find how we are not aware of the world around us. And it's one of the things that it needs to change and we need to learn. Because one of the things that's interesting of Dr. Soha, one of the points of the principles that she says, and I think it's so important, it's extremely important at this moment. It says, field independence is standing against the crowd and having one's own convictions. I mean, being a person from the 60s, we're extremely individualist, but everybody was doing. Nowadays, it's almost like people don't allow you to have a different ideas. And when we see all these demonstrations going around the streets of all over the world, you can see that having a different way of thinking, opposite from the crowd, can be very dangerous. The violence is there. And I think this idea that you have your ideas, right or wrong, we learn from the mistakes we make, and we learn from suffering as well. That's also one of the parts of spiritual intelligence, that we learn from the failures, we learn from the problems that we have, and to be able to think for ourselves and to have our own opinion. So this is very extremely important, because of course there is many things, but I am allowed to think what I think and to be able to say it. I think there was a saying from Voltaire that he said, I may not agree with you, but I will die for your right to say it. Isn't it, Charles? You're probably more familiar with Voltaire. So I think this is one of the principles that we are losing. In many ways, we talk a lot about spiritual intelligence, but we are alienated from the world and from ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that we really need to change, this connection, to leave your phone, sometimes just go around. Because what Solomon was saying, and being a stranger in this country and living in England for a long time, people used to say, oh, English people are so cold, they are so cold. No, they are not. They are the warmest, the most wonderful, loving people in the planet. They are not over demonstrative, but I have never had a single moment that, you stop and someone comes, can I help you? Or something, and they talk. It's like you say, they don't talk, but if you look and you smile, they smile back, and if you start talking, they will talk to you a lot, actually. So I think this is so, how you think Brazilian people are incredibly friendly and they kiss. I am a Brazilian person, and I'm not very much for hugging and kissing. If I don't know the people, I'd rather not kiss them, or I'm sorry to say that. It's not that I'm unfriendly, but I'd rather kiss and hug someone I know. And, hello, how are you? And whatever. But, and I'm Brazilian, so I'm not too demonstrative, and I don't really like all this hugging and kissing. Like, I think Charles mentioned as well, and sometimes it's meaningless, because when you need someone, they are not there. I remember someone saying he went to Brazil and everybody says, oh, come to my house, come to my home, and he actually did, because he was an European. And when he got there, he wasn't well treated, because people are not expecting his visit, but because everybody said. And here you only say, come to my house, when you really mean it. Isn't it, Charles? Isn't it? So it's all part of this process that we need to learn, to go back. It's not something new. It's actually to go back, to connect to each other, to connect with our own families, to be able to talk to our own families. We used to sit at the table to eat, and no television, at least in my home, nothing, no phones or anything. And we talk to each other, and this connection that we need to do as well. And being as one with everybody else and respecting others and everything. So
great.
That's it.
Wonderful. And Vanessa is joining us.
Nice to
Thank
see you,
you.
Vanessa.
Thank
Look
you.
at the little
Good
girl.
to
Hi.
see you
Gosh, excuse
guys.
me.
Hold on. I'm just going to put this off so Virginia can also hear you guys. 1 second, please. I apologize.
Let's
Oh,
go. Uh,
It,
the mic was off, Virginia. So what do you want to tell them?
Congratulations.
For the 3 years of the spiritual light? Matters much to us, right?
yeah.
Especially to you, the future generation. You need this, right? The foundation. Is it going to be easier for you in the future? Yeah? Knowing that people talk about spiritism in English, does it make like home to you when you talk about it? Like it feels like it's not foreign to you, right? What if I spoke in Portuguese? Spiritism and meetings were only in Portuguese. How would you feel when you have to talk about it in English? What do you think?
It would, well, that would be difficult.
Yeah. Some people told me it would feel like it's my mom's thing. It's a Brazilian thing. Don't you think so?
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't mind, but like, if you're going to speak the majority language, if you're going to do something that's supposed to include a lot of people, you should be speaking the majority language.
Right.
Such a wise words from from the mouth
well
of
done, my
babes.
dear.
And she's only 10. Huh? She's only 10,
Yeah.
meaning we don't need to have a fully developed brain to come to that conclusion. That's what I mean.
From the mouth of babes.
Yeah.
But we are so happy that all of you have been working. It's literally very hard. You want to do it? Yeah.
Lupka.
It's very, very interesting and hard to do this every week with such consistency and so much depth. Come here, Lupi, so you can say hi. So you can say, yes, friends,
Hey,
wake up.
he bought
I
his
brought
toy.
a toy
His
for
toy.
you.
Yeah.
All right, Virginia, you made it. But so many deep topics like the one today about spiritual intelligence and all the other topics, so deep, so much research, the videos, and bridging up spiritist teachings with, as Kardec said, the universality of the teachings. Just out of curiosity, Virginia's tomorrow she has a test on about Buddhism, right? At school, social studies. So the past few weeks, they've studied Hinduism, Buddhism at school in social studies, and
Past 4 weeks.
the past 4 weeks, right? And when we were together, and I was nitpicking on it, and very interested in what they are studying there. It's a private school. It's a non-religious school. And yet, when they're studying it, you see that what Kardec said is so true. Everything we're studying in Spiritism,
Even in non-religious textbooks.
in non-religious textbooks, right?
Yeah.
Like yours, like
Like
social
like
studies.
school textbooks, like
Hmm.
completely like just learning.
Yeah. So, like when we talk about Hinduism, the main directions like being selflessness, to stop the cycle of what they call samsara. Yeah.
To reach
I'm sorry. Yeah.
enlightenment.
To reach the enlightenment.
That's in Buddhism though.
And then in Buddhism, they talk about the Eightfold Pathway. Am I right?
Yeah. And the Four Noble Truths.
And the Four Noble Truths about suffering. And when you read about it, you think, whoa, Kardec said it all. Because we're not inventing or reinventing the wheel. He's just organizing everything in such a way that makes it so much easier and brings people together from different walks of life So you can be a Buddhist, a spiritist Buddhist. In Baltimore, we had people who were Buddhists at the Spirit Society of Baltimore. I remember when one of them came and said, I'm a Buddhist. I said, great. If you like it, you can stay and continue. And at some point, years later, she became a spiritist and she said, Buddhism helped me understand and even deepen it with Spiritism. In the Spirit Society of Virginia, in the first 4 years, we had somebody from Persia, Sarah, an amazing woman, who also helped us so much with one of the locations we had in the past. And I remember when she gave me some of the teachings and how much it's so bridgeable, it's so easy, it's the same language, so we feel like together. And then in Baltimore at work, I had one of my best friends in science was another neuroscientist from Morocco who was Muslim, and she was so friendly, and she came to some of our meetings and she said, I love Kardec because the way he speaks is so much in convergence with the teachings that I know of. And then we looked at each other and we said, you see, we need to talk more about it, read more. And the conversations became amazing. And then in Baltimore again, we became close friends with a major Jewish family who is a benefactor family, the Meyerhoff family. When Zohara Meyerhoff, who is even renowned in the United States in her holistic works, she wrote books about the Kabbalah, etc. And she came to our events with Evaldo Franco, and she told me once, Vanessa, I only understood about my mediumship after being closer to you guys in Spiritism, listening to the teachings that Mr. Franco was talking about. And now I can be a better medium knowing about it. And she decided to write one of her books about the 7 main women in the Kabbalah, thanks to that realization. So, I mean, when I think about the program of spiritual light that you guys do, I think of that. The beauty of the universal teachings in Spiritism with an amazing sense of compilation through Kardec, bringing people from all over the world together, all different walks of life. We can sit down together, easily talk, even people who don't believe in anything. If they have goodwill, we can certainly talk. And the program Spiritual Light, for me, represents that main task force at Kardec Radio. Thank you, friends.
We want to say thank you, Vanessa, for the opportunity, because we started this in a what was in the middle of the pandemic, the pandemic, or the end, something like this. But we're here, as we said, us with our broken English, or like Charlie said, with our so English. At least we are trying to make Virginia, Marie, Stephanie, Leah life a little bit easier. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good, and
This
yes,
is
3 years.
the work. There is this quotation of Dr. Marlene Nobri to one of the things that she was talking to Chico Xavier once, and he was saying that religion comes and opens the path, then science comes and builds a road on it. So in a way, we are the ones opening up the path, so they are able to come later and build the road on it. So without it, both of it, religion and science has to come together. And this understanding must exist. Either one, it wouldn't be, would be lame, as Einstein said, but it's very important. Because sometimes we think we don't reach out, it's not that good, but we don't know the effects. It's like throwing a stone in a lake, isn't it? You see the
waves.
Good.
so.
Good.
Thank you, Kardec
So,
Radio, for the
thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Kardec Radio, 3 years with us.
Yeah. Thank you, Kardec Radio. Thank you, wanted to trust on us. I'm so sorry for this. you gave us the opportunity, so now you need to deal with it.
You're gonna blame on me.
Yeah,
I'm
of
gonna
course.
get the award then, huh? Then I'm gonna get the award because you guys are amazing, and I think
Yeah.
it's hard work and it has to continue. I would certainly say we need more and always more, because this is, I think, the very beginning of much more in the very near future. I think the more we advance on earth, the more we need this type of conversation, reflection, and especially, I think one of the other aspects of the Spiritual Light program is the beauty of this teamwork effort. Because we are at a time when people, they think about spirituality, they tend to think of gurus, people who fly solo, but it doesn't go places. If you see, since ancient times, I'll give you an example. Studying Buddhism in Virginia school, one of the things that was written in the textbook is that the big deal about Buddha is that not only he got enlightened, but he wanted to share so other people also could become enlightened. That it, and the textbook said that was the one of the main parts of it. It showed his coherence, and for us spiritists, knowing all this knowledge and keeping it only for ourselves would be lack of coherence. But when we not only share, but we have this teamwork effort, it brings everything to another level. No wonder Jesus was successful. No wonder Chico Xavier was successful. And this program became a great success because also of this, not only the style, the dynamics, but the teamwork effort.
Yeah.
So tough.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. And I think our time is up. Charles needs to go to bed. It's 11 o'clock for him.
Yes. Forget.
Yeah.
The clock changed today, isn't it?
No,
No, I
Where?
don't think so.
end
It's
of
end of March.
Not in England.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
End of
last
March.
Sunday, March.
yes.
Another
Yeah.
month to go.
Okay, let me give the announcements here. Oh gosh. Let's share my screen. Window here. Okay, so next Wednesday we'll be here, and the topic is freedom and respect. So 9 p.m. London time. We'll be here 4 p.m. in the United States for our American friends. So we'll be here. Also, on the 2nd of March, we will have Florence Anton giving his mediumistic painting in the Spiritist Society of Bournemouth in south of England. Also, this is just a heads up, save the date. On the 29th and 3rd of June in Oxford, we will have our Spiritism Acts 2024 with all those well-known speakers: and Sinclair, Charles, Kempf, Dan Assisi, Humberto Schubert, Lorraine Reeves McLaren, Marlo Reikdal, Sonia Araújo, Vanessa Parra Ferreira and Wagner de Assis. They're gonna give a talk for us, and also it's 2-day events. I don't know how it's gonna be the program, but they're gonna play No Solar 1, No Solar 2, and also a movie from Chico Xavier. If you want to join, please send an email to office@kardec.org.uk, and the tickets will be available soon. And also on the 3rd of March, our dear Vanessa, we're gonna keep going with the series of the Camille Flammarion. Charles already gave us 4 parts of his talk about Camille Flammarion. And now is Vanessa giving her contribution on the 3rd of March, 7 p.m. London time. Also, we have the new edition of the Spiritist magazine, and listen Kardec Radio.
Tomorrow.
And that's it from us, my friend. This is
Stevan, just one thing in the announcement, because for those who are interested in seeing it, Florencio in English, he will be at the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain, and he also be at Kingston on the 7th of March, and the 4th of March you'll be at the association, the King's and Spiritualist Church, which is a very important church because it's founded by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So if anybody's interested,
if you have the flyers, please send to me, and we
yes, I will. I will
Yeah.
send it to you to have all those. Yeah.
And Charles, just to not finish here without answer the question, that is a question directly for you. Charles Kempf, are the books on your shelf all about spiritualism?
No, most of them, yes, but not all. There are also some books about science, about physics, about economy, about some other subjects.
Of course.
But most of them are spiritism, parapsychology.
Good.
Most of them, yeah.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy of your rest of your day. Solomon, thank you for your special participation here. Vanessa,
Thank you very much. Honored.
Our dear Elsa, thank you. Thank you, everyone who joined us today and sharing. And thank you, Virginia, for being part of this future brave workers.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night. God bless. Bye.
All the best.